What I'm going to do for you now, we're going to back up a little bit. It turns out Roland Orzabal and Kurt Smith, the two primary guys from Tears for Fears, were in two bands together before Tears for Fears. Graduate, and you might have heard of Graduate. If you are, good kudos to you. We'll get to them in a second. Also, a band called Neon. I don't expect you've ever heard of Neon. This is pretty obscure, and I didn't know much about Neon before last week once I started doing some research about them. Kurt Smith, Roland Orzabal, Manny Elias, who played a lot of drums for Tears for Fears, a guy named Neil Taylor, plus Pete Byrne and Rob Fisher of Naked Eyes. These people were all in Neon together. So Neon broke up in late 1981 and spawned Tears for Fears and also spawned Naked Eyes, which I think is kind of fascinating. The guys from Tears for Fears and the guys from Naked Eyes together. You remember Naked Eyes, the guys who had the hits Always Something There to Remind Me and Promises, Promises. Also released a second album after that with not a whole lot of hits here in the U.S. Together as Neon, they only released 2 singles, and these were all in England. A song called Making Waves and the B-side Me, I See in You, which was later re-recorded by Naked Eyes. That was in late 1980. And one in early 1981 called Communication Without Sound, and its B-side Remote Control. Now, those songs are very, very hard to come by. I managed to dig up 3 songs, 2 of which I will play for you here. One of them turns up on the 45, one of them's a demo, and one of them's just plain strange. But all of them written by Pete Byrne and Rob Fisher, the guys behind Naked Eyes. And in their words, this sounds like Naked Eyes with real instruments. So on the first one, you'll definitely hear the bass playing of Kurt Smith and the singing. I forget who's singing. I think it's Pete Byrne, I think. But I think Roland Orzabal's in the background there. First song I'm going to play for you is actually kind of good, but the sound quality is mud. And I don't think this was ever released on anything except maybe a promotional cassette, maybe. A song called Victims of Fact. So keep in mind, both Kurt Smith and Roland Orzabal born in 1961. So when this was recorded in early 1980, they had not yet turned 20. All right, so they were 19. These were college, well, I guess the equivalent of college kids. And I know from my college radio air checks, we're not all too proud of some of the work we do in college. But I think the first of these 2 songs is pretty good. The second one sounds like synthesizer noodling, but it's interesting, and I'm going to play it because it's extraordinarily rare. So here, right here, 2 songs from Neon, the band that spawned Tears for Fears and Naked Eyes. First song, Victims of Fact. This is 1980, and then you'll hear it only here on Crap from the Past.